Hello, Tashidale. Welcome back to the Dharma sharing on this special occasions of Saga Dawa. Mm, So we will continue to understand more about the sixth paramita, Prashna paramita, the perfections of wisdom awareness, according to the jewel ornament of liberation. So Gampopa did mention that the reason why we are not free from the suffering of samsara is because we don't know the method. So therefore, we need to understand what are the different steps of the path, how one can really uh, listen, understand the path, reflect on those teachings, contemplate, and slowly apply them into our day-to-day life. So they are because of understanding the path and also contemplating the instructions and putting them into practice. This will lead us to complete and permanent happiness, and thereby we'll be able to liberate ourselves from the suffering of samsara. So therefore, uh, Gampopa said that we need to understand how to cultivate bodhicitta, both aspiration bodhicitta and engage bodhicitta. According to Mahayana vehicle, the six paramitas are the path that lead us to the complete and perfect Buddhahood. So therefore, it is very important that we understand the six paramitas and especially the sixth one, the Prashna paramita, because this Prashna paramita or the wisdom awareness is the main kind of wisdom that will liberate us from the suffering of samsara. That will actually is the main remedy for our ignorance. So when you really understand the true nature of phenomena, when you really realize the unfabricated nature of phenomena, then you will be able to liberate yourself from this confused state of mind. Why we are suffering in samsara is because of our confused state of mind, because of not knowing the true nature. That is why in Sanskrit it is labeled as avidya. Avidya meaning not knowing, so not knowing the true nature of phenomena. And but we may say, I know different things. I'm expert. I'm qualified. I'm professional in these different activities, different responsibilities. But that knowing is limited, according to Buddha. That knowing is just a relative knowledge, relative wisdom. Like earlier we did learn about three different types of wisdom awareness, and then this kind of knowledge we will consider as the first type of wisdom awareness, that is known as the mundane wisdom awareness of mundane. So we need to go beyond this wisdom awareness of mundane. We need to reach super mundane wisdom awareness. Remember, so if you are able to go beyond this relative truth and try to find what is the ultimate truth of this all phenomena, then only you'll be able to liberate yourself from the ignorance. So once you are liberated from ignorance, then obviously you don't have the root cause of suffering of samsara. Thereby you'll be able to liberate yourself from the suffering of samsara. You don't need to suffer. Sometimes we think that, oh, suffering is the nature of samsara, we have to suffer. But actually, according to Buddha, this is not the case. Obviously, we are suffering because of our creations of karma in our previous life. But then, this is not something not doable. You can always redo. You can purify your obscurations, not by just chanting mantras and doing frustrations and all, but with understanding, with studying Mahayana vehicle, teachings of the Mahayana vehicle, contemplating its meanings, and really putting them into practice. Then slowly you'll be able to, slowly you'll be able to see the true nature of your mind. You'll be able to realize the wisdom awareness and super mundane wisdom awareness. And in super mundane wisdom awareness, if you remember, there are another two category or classifications: lesser super mundane wisdom awareness and greater super mundane wisdom awareness. So the lesser super mundane wisdom awareness is gained is able to gain through the study and practice of the lower vehicle. And greater supermundane wisdom awareness can be achieved through Mahayana vehicle, studies and instructions of the Mahayana vehicle. So therefore, we as a Mahayana students, practitioners of Mahayana, we need to focus, we need to try to understand what is the wisdom awareness that is labeled as the greater supermundane wisdom awareness. How can we achieve this greater supermundane wisdom awareness? And what if we achieve this greater supermundane wisdom awareness? What is the benefit of it? What is the result of it? So we should always this study, contemplate, reflect on its meanings, and then really put them into practice. Then only you'll be able to liberate yourself from the suffering of samsara. Otherwise, if you are very expert, if you are qualified, if you hold PhD on the Mahayana instructions, if you hold the PhD on the super mundane wisdom awareness, what you call literal understanding, and lacking direct experience of that instructions, then that is not so useful. That will not be antidote for your negative afflictions and emotions. Just understanding the meaning will not help us so much. So what we really need is to put them into practice. And how can we put them into practice is through sitting and meditating on the nature of mind and try to focus and try to bring wisdom awareness of knowing the unfabricated uh, uh, nature of phenomena, that is the emptiness nature of phenomena. Then only you'll be able to liberate yourself from serving samsara, and then will be able to help others to lead them to the perfect Buddhahood. Okay, so that is the why the studies on the six paramita, and especially the six paramita, personal paramita, is very, very important. So having said that, before we start today's topic, we recite refuge prayers and then generations of bodhicitta. Sangye Jodon Zogi Jonam Lai Janjo Bodon Dane Gap Sonje and Dagi Jinso Give Sonam Ge Dola Benja Sangye Doba Show Sangye Jodon Zogi Jonam Lai Janjo Bodon Dane Gap Sonje Dagi Jinso Give Sonam Ge Dola Benja Sangye Doba Show Sangye Jodon Zogi Jonam Lai Janjo Bodon Dane Gap Sonje Dagi Jinso Give Sonam Ge Dola Benja Sangye Doba Show Sangye Jodon Zogi Jonam Lai Janjo Bodon Dane Gap Sonje Dagi Jinso Give Sonam Ge Dola Benja Sangye Doba Show Senjen Damje Dewa Dam Deven Gyodan Dempara Gyojen Dongan Dam Dongan Yen Gyodan Dawa Gyojen Dongan Meben Dewa Damba Namin Dawa Gyojen Yelen Jadan Yidan Tanyam Jembo Lan Nebara Gyro Enjen Senjen Damje Dewa Dam Deven Gyodan Dempara Gyojen Dongan Dam Dongan Yen Gyodan Dawa Gyojen Dongan Meben Dewa Damba Namin Dawa Gyojen Yelen Jadan Yidan Tanyam Jembo Lan Nebara Gyro Enjen Senjen Damje Dewa Dam Deve Gyodan Dempara Gyojen Dongan Dam Dongan Yen Gyodan Dawa Gyojen Dongan Meben Dewa Dam Dawa Gyojen Yelen Jadan Yidan Tanyam Jembo Lan Nebara Gyro Enjen Balden Zawe Lama Rinpoche Dagin Jewra Bemen Den Shola Gadin Jembe Gwanin Jesong Kuzon Toge Ngodro Zado. So with generations of bodhicitta, try to remember that your motivation is very important. Before you practice the Dharma, either it is listening the teachings of the Dharma or meditating or chanting the recitations of mantras and so forth, we always need to have good motivation. And our motivation as being the Mahayana practitioner, our motivation should always to benefit sentient beings. Whatever we are doing now is meant for the benefit sentient beings in the future. Whatever path that we are following now, after achieving the result, we should be dedicating or we should be sharing this knowledge for the well-being of others. So that is why it is always very important to check your motivation. Sometimes because of being ordinary people, good ordinary human being, we may have some mistaken motivations or self-centered attitude kind of motivation, or sometimes just to gain name and fame sort of motivation. So this should be purified, and simply we need to generate genuine motivation that is to benefit sentient beings. So that is very important, because when you give rise to the bodhicitta at the very beginning, the aspiration bodhicitta, that was to, generated, that kind of motivation was generated for the well-being of others. So therefore, at the beginning it is very important. At the middle, while you are practicing, while you are listening to the Dharma, while you are sharing the Dharma, while you are practicing the six paramitas, it's also very important that you should not forget that kind of motivation, aspiration, bodhicitta. And then obviously at the end, when you get result, when you experience the result, you will definitely share this knowledge and wisdom for the well-being of others. So now we'll continue from where we stopped last time. So among the 7 points of this perfections of wisdom awareness chapter, we are now at the fifth point, that is what is to be known. So among 3 different types of wisdom awareness, what should we be knowing, or what should we understand? That is the third type of wisdom awareness, greater supermundane wisdom awareness. That is what we need to understand and what we must be studied. So how can we study, or how can we know what is the greater supermundane wisdom awareness? And that is explained here by Gampopa through 6 topics. A, the refutations of grasping things as being existent. B, a refutation of grasping things as being non-existent. C, the fallacy of grasping non-existence. D, the fallacy of both graspings. E, the path that leads to liberation. And F, nirvana, the nature of liberation. So with these 6 topics, Gampopa will describe us what is meant by the greater supermundane wisdom awareness, and why we must have this wisdom awareness. And while we try to understand this wisdom awareness, we should also understand that there are different ways and different type of what you call investigations that needs to be followed to understand, to gain this wisdom awareness. And that is why it says refutations of grasping things as being existent, for example. A, because until now we have been thinking, and we have this very strong solid kind of idea that whatever things appear in front of us, they do really exist as a single permanent entity. That's our thinking. Relatively, we always consider them, whatever the things that appear in front of us, are outer external things, outer external phenomena. We have very fixed idea of being them as what they appear to be. So therefore, we say, oh, that is good, that is bad. We decide that we will not delay on deciding things or labeling things and commenting things, commenting others. So this is what we usually do. But here, according to especially Buddha's teaching and especially the Mahayana teachings, those beliefs are false belief. Those are mistaken belief according to Mahayana way. Because what we see external phenomena as something very solid, permanent, single entity, they do not really hold that kind of nature when you do the investigations, internal investigations through your wisdom, through your with your mind. So there are some process here that will be explained later on. There are somehow many ways of analyzing things and investigating those things, whether they do really exist, whether do they really hold their nature as they appear to be. So therefore, these are the few topics that will help us to understand the ultimate level of phenomena. What we are now understanding, the wisdom that we are gaining, mundane kind of wisdom, awareness of mundane, and that we always do, right? We gain knowledge from schools, colleges, universities, from our teachers, from our parents, our colleagues. This kind of wisdom awareness is just mundane level of wisdom awareness. Or in other words, this is the just knowing the relative level and just knowing the characteristic of the relative phenomena in the relative sense. We do not go beyond, we did not investigate beyond that level. We just took it as it is. Someone said, this is good. Okay, we followed it and we said it's good. Someone said, this really exists. And we just followed it, that exists. We did not even investigate whether they do really exist or not. And they don't, according to my investigation, they do not really hold their inherent existence. That is why they are labeled as emptiness nature. Emptiness is the great achievement or great realizations of Mahayana. Okay, so here again, reputations of grasping things as being existent. So we believe that things do really exist. So here things can be categorized into two, again, if you remember. One, self or person, and the second one is self of phenomena. Self of person means your mind and your, what you call this, afflicted aggregates. So in other words, your body, your sense, feeling, your perception, your mind, these combinations of all this is labeled as I or self or person. And from beginningless time, we hold this kind of idea that this I, this me, this self ready to exist, and that's why, according to my vehicle, we need to investigate now whether this really self or person, whether this self or person to really exist as a permanent single entity or not. So this is one thing. And similarly, the other category of things is that the self of phenomena. A self of phenomena is all these things that they appear, the outer external things apart from yourself, external whatever things that appear, external phenomena, which are holding their characteristic from the relative level. We think that they really do exist as, and they really exist as they appear to be, appear in front of us. So these two things, these two belief actually is wrong belief according to Mahayana Veda. So we need to refute this kind of belief, and therefore thereby will gain the wisdom awareness of knowing their true nature, not confused with their relative nature, but be going beyond their relative nature and trying to see the ultimate nature, ultimate level of nature of the phenomena. Okay. So among these two, we have already understood how to defeat the idea of self as being permanent, unique, existent entity. So the next today we are going to talk about how can we refute the idea of self or phenomena. Okay. So there are two topics which refute the self of phenomena. It will be shown that the object of outer fixation does not exist as they appear to be, and that the mind of inner grasping also does not exist. So if you remember the explanation of the self of phenomena is combinations of two, right? External fixations and internal, what you call, perceiving or grasping them as to be something good or bad, existence or non-existence. So the mind and then the outer fixations, object of outer fixations. So these two belief should be refuted here, because this idea are false idea according to Mahayana, Mahayana's investigation of the phenomena. Okay, now explanations of first object of outer fixation does not exist according to Mahayana investigation. So Gampopa here says, according to usually in Buddhist continuum, there are 4 different school of thoughts. We call Vipassika, the first one, and the Suttantrika, the second one, Chittamantra, the third, and Madhyamika. So we, according to the instruction here that is given by Gampopa in this book, Jewel Ornament Liberation, we hold the idea of Madhyamika. Okay, so when we hold the idea of Madhyamika, we obviously we will defeat and refute the idea of the other schools of thoughts, because other schools of thoughts do not match the ultimate level. Then you may wonder, then why are they not Buddhist? No, definitely they are Buddhist school of thoughts. Then why is different from Mahayana middle way? Obviously, Buddha's intention was to bring individual slowly into the Dharma, slowly to introduce them slowly and gradually to the ultimate nature. If Buddha suddenly says, during his first teaching, if Buddha has said, oh, everything is emptiness, then it cannot be digested by the followers. So therefore, this is how Buddha taught. That is why we call Buddha a very skillful and very kindful. That is because he is very skilled how to bring individuals into the true nature, to ultimate level, ultimate nature. He just did not give teaching of the higher level at the very beginning. He, because of his compassion, and he tried to teach according to the student's level of understanding. So that's why we have these 4 different school of thoughts. And each different school of thoughts gradually upgrades the level of understanding and the realizations of phenomena. So here Gampopa, we hold the idea of Madhyamika, and therefore we see the faulty of the lower school of thoughts, Chittamantra, Sarpantrika, and Vipassika. So here he describes here. He also shares some thoughts of the different schools here. Some asserts that the outer object are substantially existence. That is contradictions to the middle way, Madhyamika, that he just described here. Like the first one, Vyavasika say that the smallest particles, by their very nature, physically exist as material which are round, unitary, and partless. So this is what the Vivashaka school of thoughts believe. But in Mahayana vehicle, in the middle way, Madhyamika, this is not the case. These particles are, according to Vyavasika, these particles are surrounded by other small particles, but with a space between each one. Now, they appear to be undivided, like grass in a lush field or a tail of a yak or a cow or a ox. They do not fly apart, but are held together by the karma of sensual beings. So this is the belief of the Vyavasika school of thoughts. So it has been said. So this is one recitation of Vyavasika school of thought. And in addition to that, Vyavasika school of thought, the Southern Tattva system of school says that even though they are particles, they surrounded each other without space in between. little bit tiny difference from the Devastika school of thoughts, but do not touch. So this is simple presentation here. And now, although they make these assertions, neither is correct because, so according to Mathemika, neither is correct because either particles exist as one or they exist as many. So there's only two ways. Either particles should exist as one or as many. So again, in this both case, there's a problem. If a particle is one, it must be either divisible into parts or not. If it can be divided into parts, then there must be an eastern part, a western part, a southern part, a northern part, a upper part, and a lower part. Okay. Since it has now become six parts, so that single did not remain single, it has now become six parts, four directions and upper and lower. The assertions that the particle is one is refuted. Now it's not one, it's six because it has lots of parts there. So therefore, this idea is refuted. If a particle cannot be divided into parts, or on the other hand, if you say the particles cannot be divided into parts, then all things would be of a nature of one particle, and that is not possible. But this is obviously not the case. In this regard, there's a quote from the Chonyi Rangdrol says, if six parts are applied to one particle, the smallest particles becomes six, just like it was mentioned earlier. If six are to be found in one place, the conglomeration becomes the same as a single particle. So there's a problem. Therefore, we cannot say it exists as one or single. The next one, now about there being many particles. If you say there are many particles, then it's also not possible. Why? Because if one particle existed, then only it would be proper to say that many being the accumulations of one. So many one makes what you call multiple particles, right? Or many particles. We have already refuted the idea of the single part. Then how can it become multiple part? Because in order to become multiple part, we need to have a single existent, many single existent in order to become multiple parts. So that's not possible. So therefore it says here, if one particle existed at the first place, then it would be proper to say that many, being the accumulations of ones, could also exist. But because one particle cannot be shown to exist, because we have already refuted earlier, many also cannot exist. So in order to become many, first we need to have single existence. Then only we can have many accumulations of single existence to make multiple existence or multiple particles. Therefore, since the smallest particle does not exist, outer object being of the nature of that particle are also non-existent. So this is how we refute the idea of having single existent outer external phenomenon as existent. So this is how we refute the idea of Vipashaka school and Swatantrika school. Okay. Then, what are these existent things that appear to our perception? So obviously, we have this doubt. If you say, okay, the things outer external phenomena does not exist, then how come they appear to us? Okay, I can see sun, moon, I can see houses, I can see flower, I can see tree. How come then? If they do not exist, why am I seeing them? Why are they appearing in front of us? So that's the question. And there's an answer for that too. Madhyamikas have always answered. Madhyamika always have an answer because it does not have any kind of standpoint. Madhyamika does not hold uh, any kind of view. It is free from all the stands, all the whatever assertions. Middle way, Madhyamika does not hold any assertions. Therefore, it has always the answer for any kind of questions that give any kind of doubts. Okay, the answer is, this is important. The appearances of outer objects like sun, moon, house, shapes and colors are due to the delusions of one's mind. So this is very important here, according to Mahayana, according to the uh, middle way, Madhyamika. Since mind arises like this, there are appearances. So what does that mean? That means that since you have the deluded view or deluded kind of mind, deluded mind continues to project object. As long as you have this deluded mind, things will appear in front of you, because as long as you are not free from ignorance, as long as you are not free from this kind of fixation, then things will appear in front of you as existent nature. So here it says, uh, since mind arises like this, there are appearances. So how can we understand this, that this is the case? And then Gampopa says here, one can understand through three different things. Through scriptures, words of Buddha, reasoning, and then simile. So these three presentations are very important here. How can we understand that things to appear in front of us because of our deluded mind? Or in other words, how can we be sure that everything appears in front of us are the what you call projections of your deluded mind? Okay, now let's go to see what the sutra has to say, script has to say, and then followed by what are the reasons that Gampopa is sharing to us, and then the CBD. So these are very kind of professional way of explanation. Scriptures, words of wisdom from Buddha, and if you do not believe that, then second level is to show you the reason why they are this like this, and then thirdly, they are like this because we have some examples there, similes are there. So this is very professional way of explanation or presentation. First, the sculpture. Garland of Buddha Sutra says, O son of the victorious one, the three realms are only mind. So Buddha himself said, three realms are all mind. Meaning everything appears according to your mindset. Also, the Gone to the Langa Sutra says, Langa Shekito, the mind which is mixed or stirred up by habitual propensities arises as the appearances of object. Object do not really exist, it is the mind. It is an error to see objects as being outer. So this is how you refute the idea of saying outer phenomena are existent. So according to Buddha's teaching here, he says everything is your mental perception. Everything is the projections of your own mind. And here, very simple example that I would like to share. Why everything is made out of your mind. For example, I usually share this idea, give this example when I teach, like Tibetan tea or Buddha tea. We Himalayan people, Tibetan and Himalayan people, we love Tibetan Buddha tea. We drink a lot, and we label this tea as the best tea in the world. So this is our mentality, our perception. Our Himalayan people's mental projection. If this is not just Himalayan people's mental projection, if Buddha tea really exists as the best tea, delicious tea, marvelous tea in the world, then that same Buddha tea, if you give this same Buddha tea to some Westerners who have never been to Himalayas, then he or she also should taste the same taste, marvelous, delicious tea. But no, they will throw it out. They'll say, "What the hell? What kind of tea is this?" I've seen many of who did not like the tea at the first time. They try to throw it out. So that is one simple indication that everything is our mind's projection. We Himalayan labeled, as this butter tea as the best tea, and we also taste it and we like it. But if that really exists in the butter tea, that delicious taste really exists as the best tea in the world, then everyone, no matter where are they from, they must, taste the same. But it does not happen like that. It's a simple example, kind of simple example. So it's mental projection. This is how we can understand. But there are many things like, if you go to Taiwan, and the people love tofu, for example, and they think that their tofu is the best tofu. They crave, they're grasping on that tofu. They'll queue up, line up to buy this tofu on the street. But when I went there, I could not stand the smell. I have to go back to the center. So this kind of thing, people's mental projection, how they label them things. So they do not really exist as, on that matter, on that outer phenomena. It's just people's labeling. Therefore, butter tea appears to be the best tea to the Himalayan people. So tofu appears to be the best taste of tofu to the Taiwanese people. Likewise, durian, durian, for example, I remember this suddenly. Durian, maybe for the best taste for Malaysians, but not 100%, obviously. So this is how you can investigate, how you can, think. Oh, really? This is just we create this. Our mind create this. Our mind project this as something good, something bad, something good, something bad. So this is all our mental creation. So that is what Buddha has said there. Everything is your mental projection. Okay, now if you do not believe in Buddha's instruction, then we go to the next one, reasoning. Reasoning convinces us that the appearances of outer objects is only the creations or contrivance of the confused mind, because that which appear and remain has no real existence. It is like a horn on a man or a tree visualized in meditation. Likewise, because what is meaning the ultimate nature, ultimate uh, realization, or the ultimate nature. What is does not appear. Ultimate nature will does not appear to us now because of changes, because they are different, and because of being impermanence, lots of changes. So that nothing will remain the same. Everything changes. So there's no some such a permanent, single existent entity whatsoever. Everything is fluctuating. Everything is recklessness. Everything is mental projection. Since mind is unstable, obviously its projections will be changing at all time. Sometimes you think, oh, I love this so much, I love this taste so much, I love this place so much, but then after a few years you have changed your taste. So with your friends, with your belongings, with your associations, so it's similar. It's changing. It's impermanence. And because of the different projections on the appearances, like I said earlier. Here, a very popular example is given in Buddhist teaching in many different texts by the great master is like water. For human and for animal, we see water as water. So when we are thirsty, we drink water and it satisfies us. And for the I think Nagas and other beings, they will say in a different way. Same object, water, but they have different perception. Some Nagas sometimes see them as a pulse, and hell realms see them as a metal, and so forth. So there are different projections of, there are many different projections on the appearances. So if one appearance does not hold its own nature as something permanent and real existent entity whatsoever, everything changes according to mental perception. So therefore, this is reasoning, how one can say that everything is mind-made. Therefore, these appearances are merely confusion. They are not the genuine ultimate nature. Okay. Now, next presentation is simile. As similes, they mean appearances are like dream, illusions of magical display, and so forth, because they are not real there. So the best nearest simile would be like your dream. If you're having so much tension, if you're having nightmare in a dream, you can't breathe, you're you're shivering, sweating, shivering. But when there's someone next to you or wake you up, then as soon as you open your eyes, there's nothing scary at all. You're just sleeping in a very comfortable bed, nice house. So this is something like this, Doesn't it appears even in dream. You have appearances, you have feelings, you have nightmares, you have scares in the dream, a bad dream, or worry of your losing your job, or so, or a pleasant. While we always talk about negative, we also can talk about positive. You are going to Hawaii, for example. You are enjoying your holidays on the beach, but then as soon as you open your eyes, you are not in Hawaii. You are in Nepal. So this just like a dream. Everything that appears in front of us does not hold its own nature. Everything changes. Everything is impermanent. So therefore, we cannot say things exist as they appear in front of us. This is how you refute the idea of outer phenomena being existent. Thus the object of outer fixations being shown not to have existence. Okay, so this concludes the I think the among the two set of phenomena. The first one is the outer phenomena as being existence. Now the second one of the set of phenomena is the grasping mind, the perceiver. Okay, explaining the explanations of the second one, that the mind of inner grasping is non-existence. So then we think, oh, if okay, we say, okay, fine, outer existence are just projections of our mind. They do not exist. Okay, I accept it. But then mind, the perceiver mind, this exists. You can feel that way. Then here, according to middle way, it says that the mind of inner grasping is also non-existence. Why? Some solitary leisure and Yogacarya school assert, so that he explained another school of thoughts here, asserts that the mind of inner grasping actually exists as self-awareness, self-existent awareness. So they believe that this mind really exists. Yogacarya and Chittamatra school of thoughts also believe this. And self-illumination. So some school of thought proclaim that this perceiver, the mind, do really exist as a self-awareness. They label this as a self-awareness or self-illuminations. Although it is asserted that way by the Yogacarya school, there are three reasons why it does not exist, according to Madhyamika. Okay, the 3 points. Yeah. First one, mind does not exist when examined through momentariness. That's one. Second investigation is mind does not exist since it has not been seen by anyone. And third is since there are no objects, no mind exists. So three different investigations or ideas that will refute the idea of believing that mind do really exists as self-awareness. The first one is this self-awareness. So Madhyamika is asking them, is this self-awareness or self-illuminating mind that has been asserted, found in one moment or in many? So it's asking them, okay, you found mind, right? You said mind exists as self-awareness. So my question to you, meaning Madhyamika school of thought, is asking them whether this self-illuminating mind or self-awareness found in one moment or in many moments. Two questions. If it is found in one moment, then that one moment is either divisible into three times or not. That very moment, is this moment divisible into three moments or not? Three times or not? Three times means earlier time, middle, and ending time, or arising time, remaining time, and ending time. So it's asking them, is that moment, the mind that you found, that you said is existent, whether it is exists in the momentary one moment, or whether you have found this in one moment or many moments. It is you have found this in one moment, either that one moment is divisible into three times or not. If it is divisible into three times, then that one moment does not exist, since it has now become many. Arising time, moment of arising, moment of remaining, and moment of ending. So we cannot say one moment there. It became now three moments, three times, multiple. So this is how it Madhyamika refute the idea of self-awareness being at one moment. There's a quote from the precious jewel Garland says, just as the moment has an end, likewise one should investigate its beginning and middle too. Therefore, since the single moment has now become three, beginning time and middle time and ending time, the world does not remain in one single moment. That's obviously, world does not remain in one single moment. It's ever changing every time. Its impermanence nature is changing, just like a river. So you cannot say that you have found this mind in a single moment, as a single moment. However, if a moment cannot be divided into three times, if you say, oh, okay, it cannot be divided into three times, beginning, middling, and ending time, then that moment becomes non-existent. So you cannot say there's self-awareness. Therefore, since one moment does not exist, then mind also does not exist, or mind is also non-existent. So your proclaiming of mind being existence is defeated. If one says next, there are many moments, that awareness, self-awareness. If there are many moments, then the reputation of reasoning is here is, if a single moment existed, say, like earlier, if a single moment existed, then only you can say, it would be right to say that many moments exist by accumulating many ones. But since the single moment does not exist, just as shown earlier, many moments are also non-existent. So therefore, since many moments does not exist, the mind also does not exist. So this is how you defeat the idea of self-awareness being existent in a moment. Then the second point here is that mind does not exist since it has not been seen by anyone. Okay. Now, to explain the second point, that the mind has not been seen by anyone, search for this so-called mind and see whether it abides inside the body, within the body, or in between the body, above the body, or below the body. So we have to, if they say, okay, mind really exists, then we need to see where it abides. We need to ask them where it abides. Investigate well what kind of form or color it has. If you say mind really exists, then it should have some color or shape because it is uh, existed from your point of view. In this way, search until you are certain. Search according to your teacher's instructions on how to vary your observations and so forth. If you have not found it or seen it through all the means of searching, then there is not even single sign of a thing to be seen, nor a color. So this is how you repeat the uh, mm, proclaiming of the self-awareness existence. It is not that you have not found or seen something which exists. So final conclusion, when you ask these questions and then the other other school of thought, when they really investigate whether this mind exists in inside body, outside body, above body, below body, in between body, and then at last he or she says, "Oh, I did not find mind in any way in any parts of my body." And then what you say, what you have to say is here is not that you have not found or seen something which exists. You know, it's not that you have not seen something that really exists. You have not seen this because it did not exist at the first place. So this is how you repeat the idea of, of proclaiming of self existence of self-awareness. The seeker itself is looking at it. The sought and the seeker are beyond the object of intellect. They are beyond expression, thought, and knowledge. So according to the middle way, you know. Therefore, it is not seen by searching everywhere. So mind cannot be seen because it did not exist from the very beginning next time. And then you say, oh, then how I have this feeling, I have this mind. Obviously, it appears because of cosmic conditions. Because interdependence nature, everything appears as. Madhyamika saying everything is non-existent does not mean that everything will go blind. You know, Madhyamika says when you really investigate, then you cannot really point out something singular entity, permanent entity that really exists. It does not. Everything is made out of so many cosmic conditions. Because of cosmic conditions, because of interdependence nature, everything appears. There's no problem with the Madhyamika. Okay? There's no problem with it. Madhyamika always finds problem when people say, oh, there's one singular entity that really exists, that is not changeable. Then there's problem. Also, when you think if everything is like solid, not movable, not changeable, then this world will become so boring. Don't you think so? Since everything is nature of emptiness, since uh, everything can change into anything, everything can transform into anything. Therefore, it's wonderful. It's lovely. It's rejoicing. It's joyful. Otherwise, everything is just solid, permanent, cannot change. Then you cannot see development. You cannot see new research developments. Everything will hold their own entity and then they're just stuck there. They are not doable, redoable, or not transformable. Then it will be very solid and very, what you call, mm, dry, uh, very boring. So since everything is flexible, since everything does not hold their own nature, they have to depend on each other. And because of interdependence nature, we can see many different things, new things coming up, transformations, all this are happening. So I think in that sense, it's actually to know the true nature of phenomena as emptiness is even better than holding into one kind of solid entity, which is not redoable, which is not transformable. That's very kind of hard actually. Okay. So there's a quote from the Kashyapa Requested Sutra. Kashyapa, the mind is not seen inside, outside, nor between. Kashyapa, the mind cannot be investigated, cannot be shown, is unsupported, is non-appearing, cannot be perceived, and is non-abiding. Kashyapa, the mind has not been seen, is not seen, and it will not be seen by all the Buddhas. Okay. Also, another quote here. Fully holding the Holy Dharma Sutra says, therefore, mind is like a straw in stuffing, meaning not so what you call not having holding a solid nature. It's just flexible. It's having fully understood that the mind is without existence. Do not hold on to it as having some core. It doesn't have any core. So don't hold the thing the mind really exists. Don't be confused that mind do really exist that it appears to be. Because it is empty by nature, so it does not have any kind of a solid entity. Phenomena empty by nature do not exist. All adventitious phenomena have been shown into this same nature. The wise one brilliantly annihilates the two extremes or destroys the two extremes of existence or non-existence. Both should be avoided according to middle way. That's why it's called middle way. No side, no extremes, existence or non-existence. The Madhyamika school of thought will not hold into any kind of extremes. It will always remain in middle. That's why it's called middle way. Trains in the middle way. That phenomena are empty of nature is the path of enlightenment. I've also shown this. Next, Unwavering Dharmadhatu Sutra says, all phenomena are inherently unborn, non-abiding by nature, free from all the limitations of activities and actions, and beyond the object of conceptual and non-conceptual thought. Therefore, since the mind has not been seen by anyone, there is no benefit in saying that it is self-awareness, it is self-illuminating, or it is something that exists. So there's no use of holding that kind of solid view. Engaging in the contact of Bodhisattva says, when it is not seen by anyone, then whether it is illuminating or not illuminating is like a graceful stance of the barren woman's child. Even to talk of this it is meaningless. So another quote by Kelopa, Keho. This is the self-awareness wisdom which is beyond the path of speech and not an object of the mind. So this mind is something that is beyond our conceptual thoughts, that is beyond existence and non-existence. You cannot say mind exists or non-existence. It is beyond both extremes. Okay. Now the thought explanations of thought point, and that is, since there is no object, no mind exists, because preserver and object that is preserved, these are interdependent. If you defeated that the outer things do not exist, then they will not be preserver, because preserver only becomes preserver when they has something to be preserved, to be seen or to be uh, preserved. That's why explaining of the thought, as has been explained above, since outer objects such as form, color, and so forth have no existence, the mind of inner grasping also has no existence, because that will be useless, because preserver will be preserver again if there is something that has to be preserved, because the something external phenomena did not exist as its own nature, then uh, obviously the preserver mind will also it will be non-existence or does not hold existence nature. The sutra chapter showing the indivisible nature of the Dharma Dhatu says, realize step by step whether this mind is blue, yellow, red, white, russet, or the color of crystal. So it's teaching us how to analyze, how to investigate whether this mind really to exist or not. It's very gradually, simple way. Is it pure or impure? Can it be called impermanence, permanence or impermanent? Does it have form or is it without form? Since the mind is formless, cannot be shown, does not appear, is unobstructed, is imperceptible, does not abide within, without, nor in between the two. It is completely pure, fully non-existent. It has no liberation because it is all-preparing element. So these are the instructions of the nature of your mind. Engaging in the contact of Bodhisattva says, when there is nothing knowable, that is called knowing. This is very important, very interesting. How then can one say no? And since knowledge does not exist, it is certain there is no consciousness, that is existent nature. Okay? This shows that the mind of inner grasping does not exist. In this way, grasping the existence of the things is refuted. So grasping of things here again, I would like to remind you again, these things can be categorized into two, self of person and self of phenomenon. So both cases, we have refuted the idea of grasping thing as existent and also the what you call grasping self as existent and something existent, and grasping the phenomenon as something existent. So this point has refuted the idea of both, the belief of idea of both. So we'll keep here for today, and we'll continue to study the next points in later session. Okay. So before we conclude, we shall dedicate the merits for the well-being of others. Sonam de tamje seba nye tomne nye be danam tamje ne kegan na je balak choba yi sibe sole choku nyo do sho changjo sencho rimbo je magi panam kikiriji keba nyamba me gong gondo le warai sho. Thank you.